Hello, today I'm sharing the best face products I discovered in 2021, which includes foundations, powders, concealers, face palettes, blushes, bronzers, highlighters. Basically, if you could put it on your face, and I loved it in 2021 and it stood out to me, it will be in this video. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. If you're not subscribed, I would love it if you would consider hitting that subscribe button before the end of this video. And let's go ahead and get into these products because I have a lot to cover. I discovered a lot of great products in 2021, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm starting with foundations. I have both high-end and drugstore foundations in this video, even though I just did my top 10 drugstore makeup purchases for 2021 video. I'll have that linked below in the description box, as well as what I'm wearing and everything I'm sharing today. I'll also have it linked at the end so you can catch it once you finish this video. I basically picked the 3 foundations I reached for the most for that video, but I had a few others I needed to share because they are super fantastic and really stood out to me more than everything else. I mean, I test out a lot of foundations, so for me to just narrow it down to this is pretty great. I have different types of foundations here that I'm going to share with you. The first is Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator. If you've been watching my channel this year, you'll know what an impression this made on me and how surprised I was at how much I liked it. If YouTube gives me enough room, if I don't max out my description box, I'll link any relevant foundation roundups, reviews where you can see these on my skin, since these are more summary types of videos. This gives light to medium coverage, so it's a little bit more than just a face tint. It looks really, really natural and gives a soft, radiant, healthy glow. A lot of times with foundations like that, or skin tints or whatever they are, they make me greasy pretty fast. I have to blot a lot or they wear away quickly. Not this one. It wears beautifully, and if I do get any shine during the day, it's not greasy. It wears really well. It softly blurs my skin and wears a really long time. This was such a nice surprise for me. Now, for my foundations and concealers, if you think you might be my shade match twin, if you have light, medium, warm, neutral skin, I'll have my shade matches for my foundations and concealers linked down below. I keep updated lists over on my blog. So this first one is kind of a combo because I have duped the Essence Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation to the Urban Decay Hydromaniac. I think these are so similar. So if you're not wanting to spend the money on Urban Decay, I think the Essence product is really similar. It looks very similar with that soft, radiant glow. It wears well. I don't get greasy, shiny with it when I do get shiny. Plus, it takes me a while to get any shine in my T-zone. It looks really natural, blurs my pores, and wears a really long time. I just found these two to be very, very similar to one another. I'll try and link that dupes video as well. I couldn't mention one without mentioning the other because they both stood out to me in 2021. I'm really kicking myself for not trying this next foundation sooner. This is the Chanel Ultra Le Tint Ultra Wear All Day Comfort Flawless Finish Foundation. So all of those things that are in the name, I completely agree with. Now, I know this is a luxury foundation, but a little bit goes a long way. I mean, half a pump will build to medium full coverage. And because it gives this blurring, soft matte, really natural finish, it's great for all skin types. It looks great on my combination skin that gets shiny in my T-zone, and it never emphasizes any dryness. It's one of the rare long-wearing matte foundations that's not really matte that I think dry skin can get away with. It's lightweight, it's long-wearing, it looks great on the pores, and when I do get shiny, and I get some shine in my T-zone around 3 to 4 hours in. It's not a greasy shine, it blots nicely, and it wears all day. It's a really pretty foundation. I just always love the way my makeup looks when I wear this. This really stood out to me in 2021. Like I said, I'm just wishing I had tried it earlier because I reach for it a lot. I shared the L'Oreal powder foundation in my drugstore foundation video. I'm really picky on powder foundations. I do have a high-end one in this video coming up, but first I wanted to share the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. This is another viral product just like that powder foundation from L'Oreal that I tried out to see if it lived up to all the hype. I didn't really expect to like it as much as I did. good. I do like to apply this with a dry sponge just to get a little bit more coverage out of it than I would with a damp sponge. This is a serum foundation that's hydrating because of that 1% hyaluronic acid, and it gives a soft, radiant finish that blurs my skin. It feels really lightweight. It looks skin-like, and this is another one that, you know, I'll get some shine that comes through a few hours in, but it's not greasy shine. And I always like the way my skin looks when I wear this. It looks healthy. It looks nice and natural, flattering. I think it's great for all skin types. It's just a great daily wear foundation that I'm glad I tried. I think this went viral for a reason, at least for me anyway. I really enjoyed this. This stood out to me more than I thought it would, and I'm glad that more shades are coming back in stock because forever you couldn't find any of the shades hardly in this foundation. This is a good one. This is another long-wearing foundation that I really loved in 2021. I was a little iffy about it at first, and I'll tell you why. There is kind of a ding that goes against it for me. This is the Covergirl Outlast Extreme Wear 3-in-1 foundation. This is supposed to be a 24-hour foundation. I never wear foundations for 24 hours, but it's really long wearing. This applies quickly and gives medium to full buildable coverage. It looks really natural and feels lightweight. I always love that. I love finding natural, lightweight foundations that can be built up to full coverage. It gives a soft matte finish, blurs the pores. It lasts a long time with or without primer, but without primer, I do get more shiny than when I wear a primer. So I do prefer to wear a primer with it. It also doesn't emphasize any dryness that I have. So, you know, this is another one that could be great for all skin types. This is not one that I would wear day after day because it does say right here on the bottle that it's got octinoxate sunscreen, which is a chemical sunscreen. For those of you like me that have sensitive skin or have rosacea like I do, that could flare up your skin. It could, you know, raise some sensitivities. Now, if I don't wear this every day, if I wear it, you know, here and there in between other foundations, I haven't had any problems with it. When I've worn it day after day after day, I can get some little bumpies. So I wouldn't make this a daily wear foundation. I would reserve it 4 times when you want a really long wearing foundation that doesn't break the bank. Because of how it performs though, it really did stand out to me in 2021. I think it's a great foundation. So I wanted to include it because I think it's a really great performer. I don't know why, but it feels like I discovered the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation so long ago, way before 2021. It's so rare that I have one, much less 2 powder foundations make it in my best of 2021. But I had the drugstore one in that video, and now I have this one. And both of them do that rare thing for me that hardly any powder foundations do. They wear a long time without me having to use a setting spray, which I almost always have to do when I wear powder foundation. If I don't use a setting spray, typically powder foundations will wear away, get really shiny, break down, and this doesn't. It looks beautiful. It gives a soft matte finish that never emphasizes any dry areas I have. It's very smooth when you apply it and can give from medium to full coverage depending on how you apply it. I think this would be great for all skin types because of how smooth it is. It just melts into the skin and it lasts all day. I love this powder foundation. It was such a great discovery for me in 2021. Nars launched their Radiant Creamy Color Corrector this year, and I could not be more thrilled. I adore this corrector, and I'm so picky about concealers and under eye correctors. It has this peachy undertone. I think you can pick that up on the back of my hand, but I mean, concealers come and go with peachy undertones, and many I don't like because they emphasize the dryness and texture under my eyes, or they don't wear well under concealers. They're too thick. I just don't like a lot of correctors. This wears almost like a second skin. A little goes a long way. It just kind of disappears into the skin while correcting. It's not drying at all, which is funny to me because the concealer, the Radiant Creamy Concealer, is pretty drying under my eyes, but this is really great. It wears beautifully underneath concealer. I just love it. I think it's a great product. I'm so glad that they launched it, and I've been using it a lot. I have 2 concealers I'm sharing in this video along with the concealer I shared in my drugstore video that was a pretty recent discovery I hadn't shared before on my channel. The first one, I will try and link the video I have on it below because I just love this Lancome Tint Idole Ultra Wear Concealer. For me, this provides hydration and coverage. I can wear it without a corrector if I want more natural looking coverage. I can put a corrector under it if I want fuller coverage. coverage. I can layer it and it doesn't look heavy or cakey. It's just a really nice product that I can use under my eyes or on my face, and it always looks natural. This is my concealer discovery of the year. I've been loving it. The drugstore concealer that's in this video is the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright Illuminating Under Eye Concealer. This has vitamin C. Now, a lot of people will dupe this or compare this to the Charlotte Tilbury concealer with the wand. I don't think they're similar at all. The Charlotte Tilbury one is a lot more dry. This one is very hydrating. It kind of stretches with your under eye area. It provides really nice coverage. So in case some of you are wondering what happened to the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer that you did an entire video on announcing that it was your holy grail, I still like that product. I think it's a great concealer. I still think it hydrates well, it covers well. What this concealer and the drugstore concealer that I shared in my top 10 drugstore makeup products of 2021 video, you'll have to go watch that if you haven't seen it to see the one that stands out even more than this one. What they have that the e.l.f. doesn't have quite as much is, I would call it stretchability, which if you don't really have a lot of texture or wrinkles or fine lines, that may not make a difference to you. But once you find a concealer that really stretches with your under eye area, it's kind of a magical thing. And these two really have that, which has sold me on them even more than the e.l.f. The products that I'm sharing in these end of year videos are the ones that just really stand out to me as being something more than other products. It doesn't mean I don't like products that I've talked about liking before, like the e.l.f. I love a good face palette. I tried really hard to narrow this down to just 3. I couldn't. These are all a little bit different from each other. Well, one is really just a blush palette, so I'll talk about that one last because I'll be transitioning into blush. I'll start with the most economical and compact and I guess versatile because it has both creams and powders. So this is from Kaja. This is the Play Bento. I have O2 Cloud Latte. There are a few shades to choose from. So you have a powder blush, a powder highlight, and a cream bronzer. I think this is such a handy little item. It makes for a great gift too. And I just swatched each shade with just a 1-finger swipe. And I mean, you get such great pigment. I like the shade that I have, the Cloud Latte, for my coloring. You know, like I said, there are other shades to choose from, but I mean, they blend out so easily and it wears well too. So if you want something that is, you know, on the more affordable side that gives you a little bit of creams and powders, nothing chunky or glittery, this is a great option. I've been reaching for it a lot. I'm not sure if the Benefit Foroscope palette is limited edition or not. I know originally it was. I'm hoping they'll make it permanent because it's really fantastic. There are a couple of versions. I have Earth Angel, which I have loved. There is a big mirror here on top. You have Hula Bronzer, which I adore, Cookie Highlight, which I also adore. You have Georgia. I think, is this a highlight or a shimmery blush? I don't know what this is considered, but you can use it as a highlighter or on your eyes. And then you have this blush, which I think is just for the palette. It's called Honeymoon. I love this shade. The quality is great. This is fantastic to take on trips too. You can, like I said, use it on your eyes or on your face. So you see how that blush reads a little bit more rosy. I reach for this blush even when I'm not using this palette. The bronzer's way off to the side. I keep swatching when this is being held up and have to go adjust it down on my desk. But anyway, there you go there. It's just very, very wearable and easy to use. I've been loving this so much and using it a ton. I'm pretty sure Charlotte Tilbury's Instant Look of Love in a Palette is limited edition as well. That's kind of how she operates with these face palettes. The version that I have is Pretty Blushed Beauty, which is the lighter version. I have used this so much more than I thought I would, and I was kind of late jumping on this. I regret it because I do love it. This is basically kind of everything in one. You have your eyeshadows, you have a bronzer, a blush, a very subtle highlight, and the Airbrush Flawless Finish setting powder. So I swatched everything on the back of my hand except for the setting powder because, I mean, it just disappears into the skin. You have the highlight, the blush, which is a very peachy neutral, the bronzer, and then the 3 eyeshadow shades here. And I'm hoping you can pick up that subtle, subtle shimmer. And I wanted to point that out because of the next palette I'm going to show you, because if you're wanting wanting basically an everyday palette that will give you just everyday subtle looks, I feel like this looks like it's very, very shimmery, but it's really not. This is very, very wearable, and it's a palette I reached for a lot in 2021. This next face palette is the Natasha Denona Glam face palette. There are fingerprints all over it. It's much prettier here next to me. It's a really pretty rose gold, but I feel like you can't tell that. So I'm really glad that I got this, even though I got it a little bit late. This has nearly everything for a full face, for me anyway, because I usually wear bronzer every day. This doesn't have a bronzer like the Charlotte Tilbury does. It's no big deal for me to reach into a bronzer. This blush has kind of a cream formula to it. That's why there's this little lid here. So very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury, you've got a face palette that includes eye shades. This one has a little more punch to it than Charlotte Tilbury. So you have the blush and the highlighter, and then here you've got your eye shades, and there's a lot more shimmer in this palette, a lot more sheen. Now I do have that kind of gold sheen just swiped across my lid today, and it looks nice. It doesn't look like it's too much, so it's not like it's a nighttime palette or anything, but you are getting a little bit of glitz with this palette. You don't have really a light lid shade with this if you're not wanting to do shimmer on your lid, but I still love it. I have been reaching for this. I really do love this blush shade a lot. It's a really just wearable shade for every day. I like the formula. It does give a little bit of a glow to the cheek, and I do put the highlighter on my lid too if I want something easy that doesn't have, you know, sparkle to it. This is a really pretty palette. It's giftable too. The blush palette that I wanted to share is the Sigma Rosa blush palette. First off, it's just really, really pretty on the outside, but on the inside, you just have such a variety here to choose from. You have a couple of shades that have luminosity to them right here, and all the shades are wearable. You can go brighter, you can go more subtle. This is a great palette to travel with. It was a fantastic launch from them that I've been loving. I actually am showing you a new one here that I've barely dipped into. I had one that was a little messier than this. I didn't really want to show on video, but this is such a great versatile palette that really stands out to me in 2021 if you're wanting, you know, to have all of your cheek colors there right beside you, to not have to think every day, but to still switch things up. I just think this is fantastic. In my 2020 Best of Beauty video, I shared the Tarte Breezy Cream Bronzer, but I didn't try the Breezy Cream Blush until 2021. So that is what is in this video. I have the shade Peach Sunset, which I love. This is such an easy blush to just dip my brush in and tap onto my cheeks. It applies well over foundation, over powder, over, you know, just my skin, and it's just such a beautiful shade. I love this. This is one of my easiest blushes to use, and I mean, look at all that product. I keep saying I want to get more shades because I love this formula. It also wears a really long time, but I have so much blush in my life and so many favorites for 2021 that I haven't bought another shade. This is such a great universal shade. I mean, it's called peach, but I feel like it's a great neutral that kind of goes with everything. I've worn this so much. This was a fairly new purchase in 2021. I got it with the Sephora sale, but it became a quick favorite. This is the Merit Terracotta cheek color, this little cute stick. Yes, the formula is great, but this color in particular just goes with everything. So you see how you just color it on right there. I do like this formula because it gives you that kind of glossy look, but it doesn't stay super sticky, which is what I like. I mean, it just blends out really nicely. It gives you that bronzer look without having too much of a red undertone. This is great for if you're going dramatic or wearing a red lip, really any look. In a cream formula, I feel like I haven't found a really great cream formula with this particular shade before until now, and I love it. I love the formula. It wears well, and I mean, the packaging is just genius. I mean, you can just dab it on and blend it out and you're good to go. Why do I have to like blush so much? So here is a powder formula that I somehow failed to discover until 2021, and I think a lot of you knew about it, but I didn't. This is the Dior Rouge blush. The shade that I have is Rose Fontaine. Did I say that right? I have no idea. This is the blush that I have on today, very lightly. I love that I get a little bit of a sheen. It is so flattering. Now there are, of course, other shades. I actually wanted a different shade originally, but it was gone. So I ended up kind of by default getting this one because I thought it would work for my skin tone. And I adore it for any time of year. And I kind of thought it would just be for spring and summer, but I mean, it goes with anything. So you see how sheer that was when I applied it? That's what I love about it, is that it gives you that sheer wash of color that builds really easily. You cannot mess this up. I don't notice a scent. I know sometimes with higher end luxury brands there can be kind of an off-putting flowery scent. Yeah, I don't really notice it. Maybe just really faintly, but nothing to write home about. This is a beautiful formula, lasts all day. You know, I'm going to say that about all the blushes here. It doesn't enhance anything you don't want it to enhance, and you know, I would love to get more shades in this formula. I discovered Makeup by Mario in 2021. So this blush is a twofer because I love both his stick and powder formulas. I also love his minimalistic packaging and how both formulas wear all day. They both apply very easily, but they wear all day. So I'll talk about the powder first. The shade that I have is called Desert Rose, which I thought was going to be so rosy and cool before I got it, but it's actually a really great neutral that I reach for a lot. So you see how that's kind of sheer. This is another buildable formula that is very flattering. I feel like they call this a matte, but I swear it's got some kind of, I don't know, luminosity to it, but no shimmer, no sparkle. It's very flattering, as is this stick in the shade Soft Coral. I love this shade. So you've got this brush here that you can use to diffuse it, blend it out. This is one of my favorite shades for spring and summer. It's also a coral that looks like it's going to be scary, but it's not at all. This applies well over basically anything and doesn't take your makeup off underneath. You know, some cream formulas can do that. It also, as you blend it out, doesn't remain sticky. It just blends out really nicely and sets down. I wouldn't say it settles into a powdery finish, but it doesn't remain sticky, and it does leave a little bit of a glow, which I love. These were both major standouts for me in 2021. As much as I wanted to narrow down the bronzers, I couldn't leave out the Makeup by Mario bronzers. I also have the stick and the powder. Both of these formulas are great. I have medium in both, so I'm just going to show you on the back of my hand. You know, this has kind of a neutral undertone to it, which is something that I really enjoy. You see how easily that blended out? I'm barely touching my finger to the back of my hand right now, and this does kind of dry down to a powdery finish, which I really do like, especially for a bronzer that's going kind of, you know, all over your face. I'm having a harder time with the powder holding it up because it's on the outside of my hand. So there's the powder. So the tones are pretty spot on. And what I love about the powder is that I can tap my brush to my face and not have to tap my brush off first. I don't get kick up with it. It blends out beautifully. Again, both last all day, and they're just very flattering. These formulas have really impressed me. This stick bronzer has the same brush that the stick blush does, if you want to use that, or you can use a sponge or whatever you use, but I love both of these. They also stood out to me just like the blushes did. If you're someone who was like me and you're just kind of sitting on Makeup by Mario, not sure if you want to try it, I would not hesitate. I loved these in 2021 and will continue to reach for them probably over a lot of products in 2022. Another stick product that I loved in 2021 is the Persona Dreamstick bronzer. I have the shade Dune to bronze. I know there's a cooler shade that you can contour with, but I really haven't been contouring a lot lately. So this shade has a little bit more warmth, maybe more of a yellow undertone than the Makeup by Mario medium that I have, but it still works. It works for my light medium skin tone, and of course she has other shades to choose from. Now this isn't so much a powdery finish as it is just a natural finish once you blend it out, but it does set down, and it sets down just really nicely, and it wears all day. It's really flattering as well. I've had really great luck with a lot of Persona's products, and this one is no exception. I love it, and it's been great. I've talked about the Dior Forever Natural Bronzer so much recently. I'm going to keep this brief. I have the shade 05 5 Warm Bronze. So this is a pretty neutral shade in comparison to the other shades that we have talked about. This is a very, very beautiful matte bronzer. I feel like most of the bronzers I've shown you today have been matte. This, like their blush, is sheer and buildable, which is something that I absolutely love. I also don't need to tap my brush off first before I go in. I don't get any patchiness that has to be blended out. It's one of the easiest products, very beautiful, very, very flattering. This is one of those luxury products that for me has been completely worth it. I reach for it a lot. The tone is perfect. I think it would be perfect whether you're cool toned or warm toned. The packaging is also very luxurious. I love this product. Somehow I didn't discover Huda Beauty setting powder until 2021, and I am so glad that I did. I've been reaching for this over pretty much all of the other setting powders that I own for my face, to set my face. I can even set my under eyes with it. It doesn't emphasize my texture or dryness underneath my eyes. I don't bake with it, which is kind of what this was intended to do. I just set with it and dust it away. It controls my shine nicely. It minimizes my pores. It looks really natural. The shade that I have is Pound Cake. I was trying to see if there was some kind of a scent in it, and there is, but it's not, you know, off-putting or anything like that. But I love this. It's very finely milled. It works beautifully for me for setting my face, and I'm so glad that I discovered it in 2021. Now I realize what all the fuss was about. Also, I have been reaching for the By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra-Powder palette. Because of the convenience, this is great for travel. It also sets under my eyes, on my face really, really well. I like to brighten with this because it's got, you know, some brightening shades. I can actually use this on days when I don't wear foundation at all, and it minimizes shine and minimizes my pores in a convenient way without needing to pull out a loose setting powder. And so that's what I've been really loving this for. I don't know how they work it to where it works so well for, you know, my pores, the shine on my face, as well as my dry under eyes, but somehow this works. I do have to mention the Gucci setting powder that I discovered earlier this year. I mean, the packaging is just so luxurious, as it should be, but this is one of the most natural looking setting powders underneath my eyes. I have shade 01 because for me it appears the most translucent underneath my eyes. I always go lighter with sheer powders like this. I like to go lighter because they appear translucent, because a lot of times if you go your shade, it will tint what you've applied underneath it. So not only is this super portable if you want to touch up with it during the day, but it looks really natural on any skin type. Dry skin, oily skin. This isn't as mattifying as, say, you know, the Huda Beauty powder. This gives a more natural finish, so it's really great to use on top of super mattifying foundations. This is great to touch up with during the day. It's great to travel with, and it's beautiful, and of course a great gift because it is so luxurious. I discovered the bronzer in 2020 and the powder in 2021. I'm really glad to have this in my life. It is so beautiful. I limited myself in my drugstore video to only one powder, and I put the other one in here. I had to shout out Wet n Wild Photo Focus Powder, which I discovered in 2021. This is a stunningly beautiful, finely milled, translucent powder. It doesn't look translucent, it looks kind of beige. I think this is fantastic for all skin types. It's great under the eyes and on the face. Now, it doesn't mattify, you know, a super long time, but it sets my makeup down beautifully so that it wears all day and blurs everything while keeping my makeup looking really natural. I think it would work great across all skin types. It's a really beautiful powder. I mean, if you had this in a high-end package, I would think that this costs way more than it does. It's definitely worth picking up. You get a lot of product in here. 20 grams, 0.7 ounces. That's a lot. This has been the highlighter that I've been reaching for since I discovered it this year. This is the Dior Backstage Glow Face Palette in Universal. I love this. This formula, I don't know how they did this, but it's just magical. It doesn't even look like I've made a dent, but I swear I've been reaching for it every day. I'm actually going to put some on right now. So I will just kind of take it in different shades depending on what's going on with my makeup. Sometimes I'll use a single shade. Do you see how it just uplifted my cheek? It just gave me a little bit of an uplift with just that. I mean, I barely even swiped any on, and there's no sparkle. I mean, you barely need any at all. It may or may not catch the light once I start talking, so I just want you to see that really quickly. This is the kind of highlight that will give you that glow without looking fake. It's almost like a dewy looking glow, especially if you buff it in with your fingers after you go in with a brush. I've even used it really lightly as a topper over blush to give a more radiant cheek. I mean, you know, after we reach a certain age, you can have some areas that you really don't want highlighted or emphasized, and I feel like this is just so flattering no matter how I apply it. It's just gorgeous. It's stunning. I'm so glad I picked it up. Now, if you're wanting kind of a wet, dewy look without a sticky feel, the Say Glowy Super Gel, the shade that I have is Star Glow. That will give you that. I didn't blend this all the way out, so you are getting a little bit of white here, but I just wanted you to be able to see it on camera. It is so pretty. There's no sparkle, there's no shimmer. It's just a pure sheen, and it's not sticky. Oh, I absolutely love this. This is definitely hands down my favorite liquid cream highlighter product of 2021. I'll have both my worst of 2021 and my best drugstore products of 2021 videos linked here for you, so you can check those out. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and become part of the family. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.